Chances are if you're watching this video, you have a great niche, you have an offer, but you're wondering how do you get more people seeing that offer faster, especially if one of your main goals is using things like SEO content. Well, stay tuned because in this video, we're gonna get into the two biggest tools that you can start using today to start getting your content in front of more people and start attracting more high intent, ready to buy users in less time. Hello and welcome if this is your first time joining. My name is Soph. I'm so glad you're here. And today we're going to answer one of the big questions that came up recently with one of my clients who has had a lot of success with their business to date, but has noticed a bit of a slowdown in the amount of people reaching out, showing interest, as well as feeling more stagnant in the growth of their email list. So what we're talking about is not having to go and do things like reaching out in the DMs, constantly posting more, having to do a bunch of live events. We're looking at easy ways to start to grow your reach, grow your visibility that's going to actually support the long-term longevity of your business, not actually requesting more time from you in the short term that would potentially lead to burnout. So let's get into this. One of the biggest pushbacks that I always get whenever we're talking about SEO is that it takes a long time. And there is truth to the fact that whenever you're using something like search, it's going to take time in order for your content to get indexed and to get found by the right people. But there's a difference between creating content that is focused on building an audience versus content that is on finding a buyer. And in today's video, we're differentiating between those two, how to know what content or what tools to use for each case so that you can both build your audience for the long term, as well as finding high intent buyers in the short term. The first tool that we're going to talk about as far as a high intent, rapid way to start bringing in more leads, more potential customers today is utilizing a simple tool for local businesses and are for those of you who work within a specific area or region. So you can get put on Google Maps. And that tool is completely free. This is called Google Business Profile. Now, for those of you that know about Google Business Profile, but maybe you're not necessarily leveraging it in the best ways possible, this is going to be a really important piece to pay attention to. And for those of you who you're wondering, what the heck is Google Business Profile anyways? Whenever somebody is going to Google and in today's world asking ChatGPT or whomever else for their AI, where is or how to find or something near them, search is always going to turn back different types of businesses that are usually based on a map or within a certain area or region. So for instance, if I'm looking for a functional nutritionist near me, what I'm going to see on Google is a beautiful map of all of the businesses that are local, closest to me in proximity, but also based on relevancy and how much I'm likely to engage with that business. We can see this done really well inside of our own agency, or if I'm searching for something like an SEO agency, I'm going to see my business showing up on here on the map, because if somebody is in this area or region, they're going to find my company straight from Google Maps. This is one of the easiest and most affordable ways for you to get in front of high intent buyers in the shortest amount of time with the lowest amount of effort. All you need to do is go to Google Business Profile and create a new Google Business Profile with your business information and details, and then set up and optimize your profile so that it's utilizing actual keywords, content, and information that you know your buyers are searching for. If you're curious how to do this, we have an entire video that goes a lot more in depth, so be sure to check that out. We're going to link it in the description down below for you. But what you really want to pay attention to here is making sure that the title, the description, the services that you offer are lined up with the actual keywords that you know your potential buyers are looking for. For instance, if you're a brand photographer and you're in San Diego, you want to make sure that you have that information inside of the title of your profile. So for instance, Jane Doe brand photography. And inside of your services, you want to also make sure that you're including information such as brand photography or whatever other type of niche photography services you offer. Additionally, you want to make sure you have this inside of the description of your Google Business Profile. So you're describing that you do certain types of brand photography services for different types of things. Finally, you do want to make sure that you have the service areas and locations selected for the different types of locations that you cover. This is what's going to help Google put you in at the map on that specific area or region, especially if you're somebody who Maybe you don't actually have a physical office. You don't run a brick and mortar. Maybe you run an online business or you run a mobile business where if you're a brand photographer, you go to different locations to shoot. Or if you're somebody who's a health and wellness coach or expert, you work with clients solely online. That's okay. You don't actually need to have a physical location to be on the map, but you do need to target a specific area or region in order to get on the map. The last thing I'm going to mention here is how you're utilizing a Google Business Profile while also leveraging the nice sister component of that, which is Google Business Reviews. Google Business Reviews are the easiest way to start to build your authority. So whenever clients or customers complete services with you, they're leaving you reviews and feedback, which boost your credibility, which help Google see that, hey, this is a qualified business owner. People are actually enjoying the services. Let's go ahead and rank this higher, especially if it's more relevant. And then finally, the last piece with your Google Business Profile is simply automating the process of scheduling relevant posts with your GBP. Now, this is less about what your users are going to see on there, and this is more about staying relevant with content that's showing Google, hey, we're actually an active business and we're not just on here doing that. Now, that is strategy number one when we're talking about speeding up the process to getting found. Of course, this is highly effective for those of you who work in a specific local area or region. Now let's get into option number two or strategy number two. If you're somebody who's like, I don't really want to be on the maps, I would rather focus on how to get clients coming to me, specifically through digital marketing strategies. The second tool, you might have guessed it, is actually around paid media. Now, paid media can definitely get a pretty bad rep, especially if it's not done well, strategically, intentionally, or with a little bit of math behind scenes. So let me explain. When we're talking about paid media, we're talking really about two options here. You can use platforms like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, and any other social media platform to really get in front of your audience. Or you can also use something called Google AdWords. Google AdWords is essentially the Google version of paid media. The reason why we want to pay attention to this is when somebody is scrolling on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, there's not a whole lot of intent behind what they're doing. They're on that platform specifically for entertainment purposes. Maybe they're bored, maybe they're just looking for something to spend time on. So they're not actually actively looking for solutions, which means they have lower buying intent. Again, I've gone into this in a lot of depth in previous videos. Be sure to check those out. But these types of buyers on social platforms are less interested on directly purchasing, and they're more so just on the platform scrolling. They're going to require a little bit more of a nurturing or re-engagement campaign. But more importantly, we want to understand the difference with your social media paid content versus paid media on Google Ads. So what's the difference? When we're talking about paid media, specifically with Google Ads, we're talking about you creating content that's going to show up on Google search results pages. For those of you who've been around since we've been talking about SEO, this is going to make a lot of sense. For those of you that are hearing about this for the first time, stick with me. I'm going to show you exactly what we're talking about. Whenever we go to Google and maybe we're typing in that same thing where we're looking for a functional nutritionist near me, or best functional nutritionist in San Diego, what you're going to see here on the Google search results page, right? Whatever shows up whenever we search for something are the first 4 spaces with that little word at the top that says sponsor. Every single one of those, and there's typically going to be 4 at the top of every search, is a business that is paying for their content to show up at the top of that Google search. This is where you're actually paying to be in front of that client whenever they are looking for that information. This is different because you're getting in front of people who are actively searching for what it is that you do. They have higher intent because they are seeking that information out. This is a lot different than something like social media ads, where your focus is definitely more on building an audience and wanting to nurture and engage and then sell to people who are more in a warmer space. Whereas on Google AdWords, you're able to target content and users who are specifically on that platform searching for what you offer, and you get to skip to the front of the line. Now, of course, it is a pay to play game here, but when you do the math correctly and you know what your metrics are, meaning you know what it's going to cost you to generate a new lead, and you know what it's going to cost you in order to be able to convert that lead into a paying customer, ideally, you're not shooting in the dark here, and you know what your profit margins are. This means we're not just spending money mindlessly hoping that something is going to work. We've done the preliminary steps to make sure that we have a budget in mind so that we're only bringing in clients at the rate at which it's profitable for our business. So if you're selling $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 services, you want to make sure that your ad spend is set up in order to get in front of the people who are searching for that kind of information, knowing what those keywords are, and then being willing to purchase so that your ad budget is always going to leave you in a high profit margin. But what I want to highlight here for you is what's possible. And that simply is utilizing one of the biggest search platforms in the world, aka Google, and its tools that already exist for you. One of those is already free. We're talking about Google Business Profile. We're talking about you getting put on the map, and we're talking about ways for you to leverage that tool all for free so that you can get found locally by people who are looking for what you offer. The second tool is for those of you who don't want to rely on things like local search, you can utilize Google AdWords and utilizing paid media to skip the line, and instead of waiting for your content to be found, you can go ahead and be at the top of that search for whatever those high intent keywords are that you want to be found for. So if you found this video helpful, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, comment down below with any questions that you might have, and I'd be curious to hear which one of these were you most surprised by. Was it Google Business Profile? Was it Google AdWords? Did you know the difference between Google Ads versus social media? Let me know. Finally, make sure that if you are wanting to learn more about any of this content, you've hit the subscribe button up above, turn on your notifications. We release new videos every single week. And most importantly, if you want to learn more about how you can work with us and getting into the depth of what we do, be sure to check out the link in the description below to learn more about our programs, our membership, and of course, how to work with us. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in future videos.